as the camera's panning, I wanted a cool VFX shot, so the dragon, you know, breaks through that huge thing. I don't know if you can even tell, but this whole tower thing is coming down. There's like smoke everywhere. I added a bunch of debris. So, as a behind the scenes, I'll talk a little bit about how I did this. I separated all the faces of this thing, and I added a bunch of very small little cobblestone and smooth stone particles bursting out just to look like, you know, rubble. There's a whole bunch of it actually way back here. Then I also threw in a few full-sized blocks to feel like, you know, some of the entire stones became unlodged. And on top of all that, I had a bunch of smoke drifts to kind of smoke out as it goes out. I also had, first there's the first smoke of the dragon bursting through, and then you get a second wave. Once this thing collapses upon itself and then starts tilting, a second wave of smoke comes out, you know, between here and here. So I wanted to really get that kind of double destruction effect. And of course, what better way than to have the camera, you know, pan under it as it's tipping, all the rubble's flying around you. So, about this little fight scene, you know, I was like, how am I going to get this huge battle going? And the obvious answer was use fight loops. So, as you'll notice, a lot of these things down here are just looped fight sequences. If I zoom in on this guy and play it, it's just this little kind of fight that goes on, and it loops in on itself. After they finish struggling, he kind of throws them off. Then they go back to their initial spots. You can kind of see right about here, it starts over. When the camera's flying around in battle, you don't really notice this. It's not really a big deal. Some of the fight animations I did original. I created a few original loops specifically for Skywars Mega, for instance that one. Some of the fight loops we took from other animations. For instance, this one right here is actually from the Book of Enchantment, the first part, I believe. Those get credit to ROA Nitrox for having animated those. Also, Ninja Charlie T sent me his little fight loop he made for Warlords. So all in all, you get this very big battlefield that you never would have been able to accomplish if I tried to hand animate everyone. There is a little hidden... Where is he? Right here. I realized I'd done almost the entire animation without putting the old man in it, so I had to put in him in here. He turns towards the camera here and waves. He waves at the camera. I wanted to include a little bit of everything, so I put even a blaze here, even though it doesn't shoot or anything, just to make it feel like, you know, this is kind of the end game stuff. Anyway, moving on. I try to throw in characters that people will recognize here and there, although I didn't want to just, you know, give them a huge fan service, make them center of attention. So you get Technoblade. Hopefully from the trailer, people weren't expecting him to be a huge character. He just kind of shows up and gets a cool, unique kill with something like a fishing rod to pull someone towards him, which isn't even really possible. And again, here we have, you know, Ninja Charlie doing stuff, and which is actually, again, proving that I'm reusing stuff. This was actually reused from the original Skywars. That was the same kill that was used when Noxie killed one of the pirate females. And then you finally get a shot of the protagonist, and then the camera zooms away. So that's the end of the first scene. So now we're kind of moving on to the second scene, and I'll start talking a little bit about kind of how we came about the story of this as we're going through this one. I also realized I just neglected to show the first, before I was even going to show all these scenes, I was going to show you this. Like the original, this one had the same way I did the planning for it. I put in all the music first. I wanted it to, you know, it's definitely a very soundtrack based animation. So I put in all the music, and we just have, I just start putting in text. I put a little text thing that would say, okay, there's gonna be some fighting, some more fighting. Now you're gonna see some me, then camera pans down, there's some cages, team reveal, team 2 reveal, cages opening, people dropping. I put in all the text that basically maps out every single shot for the entire 6-minute long animation. That way when I go to animate, I can just kind of I can base the shots around the time lengths of these little things. Down here it'll tell me that's 45 frames long, so I know this shot needs to be 45 frames long. And that's how I do all the mapping for that. I talked about this a little bit in the original Skywars behind the scenes, so I'm not going to go too much more into that. I'm going to move back to this, and we'll talk about the opening scene and how we kind of came through some of the story stuff. So you get some panning up, you get to see the cages, and you get to see the team. So initially, we were going to have, you know, 5 BPS team members, and it was actually Eagle's good idea, which I'm glad he suggested it, to have the Dirt Man on our team. And he's actually standing in the corner. He's not really shown. You can kind of see him if you look closely in one of these shots, but luckily no one ever really seems to notice, because because there's all this other stuff going on. So it was his idea to put the derp on our team, and I was like, wow, that's actually funny, because now we're going to see the dynamics of this kind of silly derp guy with us, and us having to try to deal with him. And then once he gave me that idea, it kind of became, okay, what if, the derp wasn't totally, evil and killing, and what if he was actually kind of funny, he's kind of comic relief. Then it turned into this whole bonding thing, where it's like, okay, maybe he can be a little smarter if we kind of train him. Initially, the idea was to have a separate team for the protagonist team. There's going to be these 2 other characters on another team who were just kind of 2 random people who were the protagonists, and they would, fight Herobrine at the end. It just really didn't feel like it was working. I was like, there wasn't really any connection to this other team. So when Eagle gave me the idea for the derp, I was like, wow, this is great. People are already going to be bonding with the derp man and, the BPS team. What better way than to have it than, like, the derp is the one that dies, and it's, like, a tragic but hilarious death at the same time when the derp dies. And then it's the, our team that goes on to fight Herobrine at the end. Makes it feel a little more interesting. Then you get, just a silly cage, the guy just slamming against the wall, the person picking his nose, this person just walking into the corner, waiting for the cages to open. Move on through some of this stuff. And here's where, I really wanted to kind of get the scale of all this. It's mega. This isn't just like normal one. There's people bridging, there's people pointing, there's people running around preparing. And here, I wanted to include a funny little joke. Again, this was one of the first kind of comedic moments of this one, other than if you count like the cages, where I want to make fun of when people mine straight down and follow the map, which has happened to me a few times, even during a stream before.
Except a region.
I got my bow.
Ooh, you left the house.
What?
I saw that.
What?
What happened?
This was the first little kind of woo dude falling out of the map. Then you get, rather than the original Skywars where one guy gets snowballed off, there's a whole team gets hit by a bunch of snowballs. And we had Crazy Swimmer do his little head thing, where he has a little underhead that makes him look adorable. They all get snowballed off. Then the team rallies, it's all epic. We come together, the music climaxes, and then we finally get the derp reveal. And at first I wanted him to feel like, oh crap, it's the derps, the guy who killed everyone and won the last game, everyone's gonna be freaking out. And then he pulls out his sword and does his little like, hey, I'm on your team kind of thing, which was kind of hilarious. Which was really great. I did a really good job trying to not even reveal that he was in the animation. I never showed him in the thumbnail. I never showed him in any behind the scenes on my Twitter. I didn't show him at all in the teaser. So there's kind of no expectation for him to arrive, then suddenly boom, there he is. And then it pans to the next scene. So here I was looking for other kind of little jokes and stuff to play around with. I really want to kind of include jokes and stuff that people will understand. For example, the diamond, mining down, falling out, that's probably something people can relate to at least one time or another. So here I was like, there's always that one guy, well, actually, it's not actually that common, but there's, every so often you'll get those guys that try to like TNT cannon and it just totally messes up. So I wanted to have this cool epic thing. He's like, dun 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 dun. He's all, getting ready to jump. You can tell he's squatting down, ready to get launched. And then he just gets blown up and just goes flying the wrong direction. And also gave me an opportunity to play around with the explosions and smoke stuff. This was actually the first shot where I tried smoke. I did this one before I did the opening shot, as mentioned before. I always feel it's good. With every animation, I definitely want to learn new things. I always try all kinds of new stuff, and if I'm not really learning new things, then I'm not really, progressing, and there's not really much point in the animation. So here was a big experiment with smoke. It was a lot of fun. It looked pretty good in the end. I was pretty happy with this explosion. Some of the other smoke wasn't so good, but that was a fun experience. So now we get people finally get into the middle, and again, I always try to just throw in like, people in the background fighting to make it feel a little more full. We get this guy sprinting towards the middle. This kind of represents me a lot. I seem to be usually the first one to get to the middle. Then I'll get some really good stuff. And as soon as I'm like, oh yeah, I got this great stuff, I got this armor, I'm about to put it on, then someone else comes, kills me, and takes my stuff. It's very relatable. But then I have this team of necromancers arrive, kind of take over. Fun little fact, these are actually, these skins are skins from a group of characters in Songs of War, my upcoming original animation fantasy series. That is actually the Necrolord, which was a skin designed exactly off of the Dreadlord. We just desaturated the purple and made it black to match the rest of the Necromancers. So you will definitely see more of them in Songs of War once I get that out in the long future. Now we finally cut back to our team and we're advancing forward. And this time I wanted to have Nitrox behave more like Nitrox. It was funny, in the original Skywars, I kind of went with the Book of Enchantment Nitrox, where he's this cool bowman, he's doing really awesome, he's shooting people, doing flips. But here, after having done a lot of streams and gameplay with Nitrox, we even he was even in our 150,000 subscriber stream. So if you watch that, you'll understand this scene and why this happened.
He hasn't even. He's got no tools.
See, check this out.
All this destruction going on.
We even got
and
water.
Nitrox
Oh my
is
god,
still
I'm gonna
just
die by a
happily
dragon
building
ball.
his
Just
bridge.
It's got a trench too.
Go.
Nitrox, get bridging! Oh no!
Why did you give me field of view?
Nitrox basically bridges really slowly and carefully. As soon as he hears something, he's like, "Oh, everyone stop!" Everyone stop. And then of course Eagle's just like, he's really impatient. He's like, "Come on, we need to go." So he launches himself, and doesn't quite make it, which is also another one of those kind of relatable things. So we move on as we're ready to go. What do we see? But Nitrox is safetying the bridge and making it twice as wide. And then as he's doing that, we get attacked. We have the first kind of fight scene with us. Cool zoom out shot. We kind of fight. This was the first time I had really done the fight animation, so it was kind of the worst of them all. I kind of spun around and just didn't know too much about what I was doing. You watch me in the background, I'm just kind of like stepping around and just waiting. Not much. This was the first fight animation I'd ever really done, so it's kind of average, but it gets better from here. I was happy to layer stuff. So then of course Nitrox is now working on his third layer for his bridge. He even ran out of, I made it look like he ran out of wood, switched to stone here.